My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
Hey there, folks. If you are in the multifamily world, if you're into development, you're very, very aware that these days it's a very expensive, time-consuming proposition. It hasn't gotten any easier, it seems. But today's guest, Samuel Herschorn, is doing something kind of different with infill developments in a very expensive market in Canada, in Ontario. And he's found a way to do things a little bit faster, a little bit more effectively, and getting their investors a return on an investment even faster than before. So, Samuel, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me out here.
So, Biosis Real Estate, give us a little snapshot of who you guys are, what you do, and what you focus on.
Yeah, so Biosis, it's a Greek term. It's a suffix, and it means mode of life. So think aerobiosis or symbiosis. Aerobiosis is your mode of life in the air. Symbiosis is a mode of life connecting with another being. So we really have this philosophy that, we can do more. The more people we work together, we can do great things. And ultimately, our goal is to create the best mode of life for our clients and the communities in which we work.
Okay.
So some background on myself. I'm a licensed architect. I've been designing and building real estate developments for over a decade now. About 4 years ago, I kind of reached a point of frustration with my clients, big developers who just kept trying to cut costs, cram as many units into a tiny box as you could.
Oh, and, those infamous condos that are now sitting unsold and vacant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing about the field of architecture, it's very much a passion industry, but we're often the first people to get blamed when something goes wrong, the last people to receive credit. And I was kind of tired of pulling my hair out and looking into my future and seeing one where there isn't much change. I thought, why don't I just take control, learn the other half of the equation, which is, the putting the projects together, the development side, the business side. And then it gives me a greater level of control over design, how I'm allocating the funds, what my values are when it comes to designing and building real estate. So in 2022, I got started, joined with a few business partners. Yeah. My partner, Graham, he's a civil engineer. He's been doing this for 14 plus years. My partner, Dakota, is an architectural technologist, went the same route. In fact, we went to university together, but he went the technology route, whereas I went the architecture route. And then our partner, Michael, who's kind of the black sheep, he's in tech sales. So he's more the guy who's picking up the phone and taking clients out and managing the investor relations side. So we together formed Biosis, and we underwrote any deal that came across our desk. And if you recall, back in 2022, 2023, the pricing was crazy. Like, it was a feeding frenzy. Money just getting dumped into the market, no matter what was happening.
So when you say underwriting any deal that came across your desk, you're talking about development deals, not existing.
Development deals, yeah, because that's our forte, right? We knew that we had a housing shortage crunch. We wanted to be able to bring housing, but we also love development because of the massive forced appreciation that it offers. Yeah. So if you're buying an existing asset, usually you got to do some renovations to increase the rents, and that's how the value goes up. Well, imagine taking an empty plot of land or a derelict building, tearing it down and building 3 times the unit count on it. Like, that's a huge added value. There's a lot better returns, but there's also a higher degree of risk, which I can get into later. But essentially, we underwrote everything, and nothing was working at the time. So we didn't buy anything for a couple of years.
That must have been frustrating.
It's crazy, because we would see all these stories on our Facebook feeds, people who, I just got this under contract, it's going to be a great deal. Well, hindsight's 2020. Now that rates have, shot up, the market's cooled, a lot of people are in trouble because they overpaid, right? It's great for us though, because there's now a wealth of opportunity. There's a lot of actually, pencilable deals that are coming across our desk. We're actually at capacity in terms of what we can take on right now. But what it did allow us to do is really narrow down our scope, our niche, and what we wanted to focus on.
So what do you guys do differently than the other? Well, you're much more persnickety about making sure the numbers work, and you're underwriting conservatively. So it sounds like you started the business, but you're on pause for a couple of years until the market kind of came back to sanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what kind of projects have you done over the last few years then?
Yeah. So we have our own portfolio of land that we bought, before the big run up. I had my own, I have my own properties. So did my partners. We kind of came in and started working on each other's properties. So we started off with a custom cottage that we turned into a short-term rental business.
Nice.
Then we went and built a few triplexes on existing properties, expanding, taking a single family home, adding a few units to it. We got up to doing a sixplex in the Ottawa area. And that kind of got us familiar with the development process outside of, what we do professionally, understanding how to put CMHC applications together, how to pool the capital, and do all the planning, underwriting, and then managing the project and then getting it leased up. So during this 2-year span where we didn't buy anything, that's what we were doing.
You're keeping busy on your own properties that you had. Yeah, smart.
That's right.
Plus, getting your feet wet right in the trenches there. So that was
and really learning, what does it take to manage a multifamily asset? Replacing toilets, light bulbs, dealing with calls.
All the stuff that architects don't usually have to deal with if they're just being architects, right?
Exactly. Hit the nail on the head there. So now that we've got that under our belt, we're expanding to much larger projects. So we're doing a 52-unit stacked townhouse development. It's about half hour outside of Ottawa. It's a great project in a town called Kemptville, which is a booming town. When Ottawa was full, it filled up and everyone spilled out into the burbs. And Kemptville is one of those places where half the town is brand new. It's got massive, commercial developments that went up with big box stores, players like Walmart, Canadian Tire, Starbucks. They all moved into the town. They have 15 soccer fields, hockey rinks. They've got a Guelph campus that is now actually being used as part of the government campus extension.
There's lots going on.
Yeah. It's a lot going on. It's a great place for someone who wants to move out of the city, but still commute and start a family. So we were very excited when we picked up this 2-acre parcel there. We rezoned it to add density, and we're in the process of getting our final permits in place to break ground in the spring on these 52 units.
Hey there, if you're a capital raiser, a syndicator, or a fund manager, and you're looking for a steady flow of incoming accredited investor leads, then go ahead, grab a free copy of my new book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings Every Month Without Cold Calling, Networking, or Chasing People. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com.
That's really exciting. So, Samuel, we kind of piqued people's curiosity at the top of the call, saying that what you guys are doing is more cost-effective, faster, and more efficient than typical development. So, tell me a little bit about that. Let's
So when we were doing our analysis at the peak of the housing bubble, we looked at small developments, right? Your fourplexes, triplexes. Because we already owned a lot of that land, the numbers worked. But for the most part, it's very difficult to make that work. First of all, like your build costs are going to be, a little bit on the higher end, just because you don't have economies of scale, right? It's a pretty small amount of wood or whatever that you're going to be ordering. Next, you can't take advantage of professional property management. You get like 10% property management fees on smaller projects because they need scale as well. So it means you're self-managing, and it can be exhausting. And then you're technically a residential property. So when you're getting financing, they're only looking at it in comparison to other single-family homes, semi-detached duplexes, that sort of thing. You can't lever the project using CMHC financing because they require a minimum of 5 units per site to qualify. So you're doing a higher interest rate. Maybe you're doing some bridge debt, and then your terms aren't as favorable. So you got to go the next step up. So the next step up between like a triplex or fourplex, you got to go 5 units plus, and then the numbers start to work. But it's still too small. There's a lot of smaller mom and pop developers who are doing this. And it's a great place to start, don't get me wrong. But for us, we had a longer term vision. We wanted to build bigger so that we could get those better terms, right? And the better income and cash flow. So we really, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the massive developers doing huge high rises. But those projects are very capital intensive. They take decades to get off the ground and built. Investors, aren't getting their full investment back right away. It can take a very long time. There are delays, et cetera. And we're seeing now a lot of big developers are going under because of that whole condo boom that is now leaving them with thousands of units sitting vacant, right?
Yeah.
So instead, we're focused on the missing middle, is what it's called. And that's usually between 30 to 100 unit buildings, low to mid-rise, so 3 to 6 stories, which we can build out of wood or light gauge steel. So it's a lot more economical to build. And we're able to get that higher density to get the institutional property management companies, but also attract family offices and some of the larger investors to come and invest in these projects. And the benefit for them is that we can build them and get them approved quite quickly. Most of the municipalities have been shifting their review processes and their bylaws to promote this kind of development. In a neighborhood where you've got predominantly low rise, adding a few extra stories isn't going to cause a huge backlash. You add 30
you don't
stories.
Have that shadow, you have shadow effect and everything. Yeah,
30 stories, people are flipping out. You add 2 or 3 extra stories, they can tolerate it. So you don't get that same pushback. You don't get the same delays in approvals. The councilors can say, yes, we're doing our part to address the housing crisis. It's going to raise property values, bring income, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very desirable kind of building form. And for us, it's desirable because we can build it quite quickly. Like we can do
what's the time frame for that size?
Like 2 years from start to occupancy. Even, maybe a few months after that, it will be fully leased up. And that's huge, right? So as an investor, you're not locking up your capital for longer than a few years. You get all of your capital back. We even structure a preferred return for our early investors, so they're getting a decent chunk of profits back. And then all of our investors are in 70-30 split until we're ready to sell the project, and they're just collecting their distributions as pure profit from there.
What is your exit strategy for this kind of a project?
So typically we're targeting a sale. We could do refinance and hold for long term, but we like to underwrite as if we're exiting completely, just as a clean break, so that our investors know there's a real timeline to the project. But it's either a refinance, long-term hold, or a sale to a family office, a REIT, or a high net worth individual who wants to retain a Class A asset, park their capital, and collect the distributions on the rent.
So if everything goes according to plan, what's the time frame for exiting?
So we usually do a 6 or 7 year timeline from start to sale.
Go exit. Yeah.
It's about 2 years to 2.5 years where we're going through planning, approval, construction. Then our investors get their full investment back, plus a little bit of profit, and then distributions from there.
Okay, so the 2.5 years includes purchase of the property, zoning stuff, approvals, all that stuff. So it's soup to nuts. Okay.
And we're able to hit those timelines because we have our in-house architecture firm, our in-house civil engineering firm. We get to prioritize our projects to make sure that they're hitting their timelines. And I'm not going to be invoicing myself for the architecture fees if we need to put in a little bit of extra work to get the project into our application.
Very nice. So do you guys do projects for other people as well, or you just focus 100% on your own?
We do. And because we have this development branch, it ties in perfectly with offerings that we do to our clients. We work with other developers, we work with investors, help them underwrite a project to see whether it's financially feasible, help guide the development process, do all the design work, and even manage the construction side, working with the contractors, making sure that the project is moving forward according to the construction contract, and then handing over the keys. So we do bring that all in as kind of an offering, and it tends to lead to other collaborations as well.
I would imagine. So going from purely working on the architecture side of things a few years ago to now being right in the thick of things, everything, what have been some of your biggest takeaways so far, Seb?
The biggest takeaways is that when it comes to design, there's been a shift that I was championing as an architect, but clients didn't want to adopt, which is an eye to putting a little bit more upfront investment into highly durable materials that are sustainable, lower carbon footprint, that aren't going to require as much maintenance. And the end result is you lower your capital expenditure on a monthly basis, lower operating costs for the building, and higher long-term value, which works really well for an apartment model or a rental model. But for a condo model, which was all the rage before, they want bottom dollar because they're selling it off to a new owner. So that shift now is being adopted across, most developments. And now with CMHC's MLI Select program, where, you get points for levels of increased efficiency and performance, it's becoming, widely adopted and used in the development space. So we're designing and building buildings that work better, that are more comfortable, that perform better, and are better for the environment, which I'm very grateful for, and we're going to continue to push. On some of our projects, we're now looking at transitioning over to completely net zero, meaning that their carbon footprint gets offset by the amount of energy that they produce.
Very, very cool. So we're coming up on 2026. What are the big plans on the horizon? I know you're going to be focused on this 50-some unit project that you guys have got on the go. What else is on the horizon for the new year?
So we have another project that we're just launching. It's a 64-unit, 6-story apartment building in Ottawa. And this is the next leap of our business model. So we figured out the niche, what we want to target. Now we want to figure out how do we reduce costs, reduce timelines to build, but increase quality. So we've been doing a lot of research, a lot of communications and interviews with modular manufacturers. Since Carney announced the Build Canada Homes Plan, and there's a significant investment in the modular game, now it's all the rage. But we were looking into this years ago. In fact, we've trialed a prefab system on some of our previous builds, just to make sure that we fully understood the process and how it works. So our apartment building, we're going to be working with a company based out of Stoney Creek that will produce all of the units in their factories. Everything from framing, drywall, insulation, vapor barriers, to finishes, cabinetry, millwork. It's all going to be done in the factory. And then it's going to be shipped to site, and the building will literally get stacked together just like Lego blocks. We've done a nice
That's
design.
wonderful.
We've
Yeah.
priced it out. We are lining up our financing, which is the biggest hurdle, because most lenders, they don't
They
understand.
don't
this
understand
process,
it. They don't get it. Yeah.
right? And we've run our numbers, and the returns the benefits are significant, right?
Yeah.
So the returns versus conventional, like your costs are going to be about the same. Like a sheet of drywall is a sheet of drywall.
Mhm.
Your labor is going to be similar, right? Installing that sheet of drywall it takes the same amount of time. The
Mhm.
big difference is you're in a factory controlled setting.
Yeah.
And these modules come pre-approved. And this is huge.
Mm.
They are
Wow.
CSA approved, meaning that I don't need inspections at every hold point.
Wow.
I just need a foundation in place, and then they get stamped and shipped.
Stacked one on top of the other.
Exactly. Kind of like buying a fridge. When you buy a fridge, you don't have someone open it up and check every single part and then go through a checklist. It's done at the factory level.
Right.
It gets that stamp to show that it's done. Same with our units. They get that stamp to show that they're done, and we can start manufacturing those units before we even have a building permit.
Wow.
Right. So
That's
how
exciting.
this is the sequence. We go in for permit on the foundation, the demolition, the site works. We get our permit, 3 months to get all that stuff in place. During that time, we're manufacturing 2 modules a day at the factory. And
2 modules being 2 apartments. What does a
Yes.
module mean? Yeah.
so because they're 80 foot long, they're actually back-to-back apartments with a corridor in between. So we can produce like one of those a day. And then
And how many modules total are going to be in this building?
it'll be about 120.
120 modules. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Really
So
like Lego. That's so cool.
yeah. And so those once the foundations are all in place, the tines are done, those get shipped, and it's a couple guys with a lift truck craning these into place and guiding them in. And they can install, I think, between 2 to 3 of those modules a day at that point. Right. So we're talking about taking a construction timeline that would be about 2.5 years, and we're condensing it down to 8 to 12 months. So that's
Make
carrying
sure you
costs.
take some time lapse photos of this thing getting put together.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be so cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is exciting stuff. Samuel, time flies when we're having fun.
Mhm.
If people want to find out more and connect with you, where should they go?
Look us up on our website, biosisrealestate.com, BIOSIS realestate.com. You'll see my face as well as my partners on that site and some of the projects we've worked on. We have a mix of a few of our own development projects, and then we've included some of our past design projects with other clients. If you want to chat, talk about development, pick our brain on the design or feasibility side, I'm always open to scheduling a call.
Awesome. Samuel, thanks so much for being on the call. Congratulations on
pleasure.
what you guys are doing. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave.
All right, everybody, take care. See you on the next one.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.